Would I buy a distressed property, abandoned property? 100%, man. You get to be creative.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Housing Tips. It's the show where we talk about housing information, housing news, and everything in between. If any of that information sounds of interest to you, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It would mean a lot to us, and I know Jesse would really appreciate it. Jesse, how are you today?
Please subscribe, everyone. Doing good, man. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. This is our Halloween episode today. We actually have a awesome show for you today. Is that right, Jesse?
Yes, but before we go, tell me about your costume so the viewers can figure it out. Maybe they have an idea. I'm not sure.
Well, my costume is from an anime from Demon Slayer. I'm actually the water Hashira. What about you, Jesse? What are you?
I'm the most dominant basketball player ever, Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh,
Yes.
Joel Embiid.
No.
I'm just kidding. Well, moving on from our costume ideas, Jesse, what is our topic today?
Topic for today is tips on before you buy an abandoned property, how to find also distressed properties in California.
Wow, something spooky to go along with the Halloween theme today. I hope everyone's having a great time during Halloween. But Jesse, let's move to the topic then, right?
Yeah. So right before I jump in, would you buy an abandoned property? Yes or no, and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say yes, but it can't be a spooky one.
What do you determine spooky? Like history of ghosts or history of like people pat or what's spooky for you?
I would say abandoned in the sense of not knowing the history of the house. So you don't really
Okay.
know what's happening, or going into a house and it's just completely destroyed. Anything that loses money, anything that looks like dollar signs in my eyes, I want to stay away from. So to me, that's extremely spooky.
We're so opposite. The spookier, the better for me. Did you know that legally you need to disclose if there's been a death in the property? Legally,
Wow.
it's 3 years. And so if it's 3 years in one day, you don't have to disclose.
Wow. So you're saying just wait 3 years at one day and then you don't have to even take a
Wait,
cut on it.
wait 3 years, one day, and put it up for sale, and you'll be good.
Wow, interesting. But yeah, Jesse, tell me more about abandoned properties, and that is something a lot of people think about as well when they look into possibly purchasing an abandoned property, since typically they're a lot less prices than they are for fully fixed up houses. But would love to learn more about this whole process.
Yeah, first I'm gonna talk a little bit about like how to find these properties, and then after I'll just go like general notes on kind of like what to do once you've identified a property, especially in California, like abandoned properties, uh, not as often that's happening, right? Just based on the market. But if we're talking about distressed abandoned properties, there is. It happens all the time. There's deals being closed every single day. And so the lingo that people will use is like properties that are in default or absentee owners. And how do you find that information? There's property record data. There's actually a site called PropStream. It's anyone in the public can get that information. And some agents will reach out to title agents and they have information of who's in default on their loan. And that may
Interesting.
be a potential, right? If they can't keep up with the mortgage, that may mean that maybe there's these like repairs that maybe they haven't made, or they might be behind on certain stuff. Also, from your tax records, you can look at delinquent tax lists. And so homeowners that haven't, paid taxes, they're often going to be motivated to sell. Probably the condition of the property like might not be as great. Um, there's also probate attorneys, like handling estates of families, right, that might be outdated or in disrepair. My first property was a probate. It was a estate. They were trying to get rid of the property. They were trying to, just sell. They didn't do any repairs and got a good deal.
Interesting. So that's another option then for first-time home buyers. Then is purchasing a house.
Purchasing a house that's through probate. Another one is also like HUD homes. HUD homes are properties that have been like repossessed, and the bank's just trying to, you know, stay even. And so they will put it at a lower price. And actually, first time buyers, they get first opportunity in bidding.
Interesting. So what were you saying though again, Jesse? You were talking about first-time home buyers have the opportunity to buy first?
Yeah, first time home buyers, they have the opportunity to buy first with HUD, Fannie Mae, because they want them to have the opportunity. They want them to be able to get the property as opposed to investors, as opposed to other individuals. So that is also another option, looking into HUD homes, into Fannie Mae homes. Um, but then it's like general notes of, okay, what can I do? Let's say there's a Fannie Mae repossessed property. They can do the FHA, but they may need to do the FHA, what we call the 203K. And that is like loan that they'll provide for you to do like repairs and costs. Let's say, for example, I was in escrow for a property in Pomona. It was one of these properties, and they did the inspection and staying okay. So for you to get the property, we just need you to fix this part of the roof, fix this chipped paint, and provide us with details of which contractor, made the repairs. So you're able to get these funds and this added loan for you to do the repairs, right? So then you get the opportunity to beat out other people with the property. You're making these repairs, you're able to finance it, and you're able to get into your dream home. Maybe then it's like you'll do other changes as you go, but that's a really good thing that a lot of people might be nervous about. Like, it's not as straightforward, but it's not as scary.
No, I agree with what you're saying is that sometimes you need to look beyond just the initial value and the initial view of the house, but look at something in the future where, hey, is this house, is it salvageable? Is it something that could be fixed up? Because, like you said, it could have huge returns if you purchase a house that might be a little bit distressed now, but then in the future, you're looking at a house that's on par with the neighborhood.
Yeah, and so some tips is you want to check for liens, right? We're talking about abandoned, distressed property. Maybe there's unpaid property taxes, mortgages, contractor liens. So you want to do a title search to make sure, okay, like what debts are attached to the property. You definitely want to inspect. A professional inspector is
Maybe
going to
two.
be maybe, yeah, or maybe, yeah, like a specialized, a
Yeah.
general one, someone for electrical, someone for like water damage or like mold or structural issues, so you can get a real idea of the repair costs. Some people don't like to think about that, knowing that it may kill the deal, or maybe I really like the potential and I don't really want to think about the reality of the repair costs, right? You want to think about environmental hazards, asbestos, right? Lead paint, especially in like these older homes, because you gotta,
Popcorn ceilings.
yeah,
That's a
you
big
gotta
thing too.
factor that into your cost of the popcorn ceiling and how much, to get that removed, to make sure for the safety of everyone.
Yeah, actually, a little bit of a side note for our listeners and our viewers is this condo actually had popcorn ceilings, and then the previous owner, she actually had them removed before selling the house. I don't know if you can see it in the video; it's a little bit blurred out, but that was something the seller talked about. And the seller said, "Hey, it's something that I made upgrades to the house. It used to have popcorn ceilings. I removed it. I removed all the asbestos. Definitely something to look forward to, and definitely something to negotiate on when you're purchasing a distressed property or purchasing something that's already fixed up."
Yeah, yeah. And I think the last one is you want to look into squatter rights. If the
Yes.
if the property's been abandoned for a long time, there may be squatters living there. And in California, you can claim ownership through adverse possession. If
Oh,
certain
wow.
legal conditions are met, they, can obtain the property. Usually they have to occupy a certain amount of time, 5 to 30 years. It has to be obvious, has to be apparent. Um, then they have to file a claim in court. There's a lot of things, but it is possible. And so maybe you're out of state, maybe you're not, going off into the property, and behind the scenes, someone else may, be the actual rightful owner.
Interesting. So something to think about if you're moving out of state or purchasing a property that's not in your home area, which you can't even see, that you're almost buying sight unseen. That's something to think about, that maybe there's squatters in there and it's going to be another headache to even purchase the house. And that's something you can negotiate with the seller, I'm assuming, and say, hey, it looks like there's squatters here. It's going to cost me X amount of money to figure out, get them out of it. And from there, I need to, negotiate on the price a little bit, move things around, but very interesting that you even bring that up.
Yeah, you want to factor, okay, like what's going to be the cost if I have to go through the eviction process. The last tip that's coming up to my mind is zoning regulations. There's some
Yes.
properties that may sit, and you have to see if it's gonna, go with your intended use.
Yeah.
What if it's in a historic district? What
Where
if
you can't even
it's
make upgrades to it either. I know that's a big thing, is that there's a
yeah.
lot of houses in historic areas that might have a certain theme. I know Sedona comes to mind. That's one area in Arizona where
Mhm.
if you purchase a house or you purchase a property or a business, you can't, make it bright orange and yellows and blues. You have to stay with what the color palette is of the area. So,
Yeah, like there's certain areas in LA and Jefferson Park labeled as historic, and you can't do certain adjustments without getting the necessary permits. And like I remember, my parents looking at a property that they love, and it was built by a certain architect, labeled as historic. And the roof, you couldn't do changes to the roof. You could only replace it like with the same style. I forgot the actual name, but it was like rock and gravel. So you couldn't do shingle, you couldn't do, other stuff to that.
interesting.
So you got to look into, zoning in the city and permits and really see what you could do with that property.
Interesting. No, that is fantastic to know because that's something a lot of people don't realize is the reason why a house is distressed or it's looking like it's being sold for a deal is sometimes you can't do certain things. I know a big thing in Southern California is that a lot of flooring was built using redwood and they banned redwood. So if you're looking at, the flooring and you say, "Oh, there's just a few nicks here and there, there's a few slabs missing," but then you come to repair it and you realize, "Oh, this is redwood. You can't buy that anymore and you can't put that in." So either you're going to
Yeah.
mismatch the wood or you're gonna have to put something on top of it. So something I've had to experience as myself as well is that, hey, you just can't buy redwood anymore. It's no longer available. It's illegal in a lot of states to purchase and use. And a lot of flooring in Southern California, those old houses are built with it. And so you're kind of thinking, well, what am I gonna do next?
Yeah. So I mean, just summary. Would I buy a distressed property, abandoned property? 100%, man. You get to be creative. Your project, there's room for, if it's changes that you want to do to your style, and a couple ghosts here and there, it just makes it exciting.
No other better way to close out the video than that, Jesse. But of course, if any of our listeners would like to learn more and like to stay up to date, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. But until then, thank you so much and have a great day.